Good morning. It's a pleasure to be with you, and it's a pleasure to greet you in the name of the living Christ. I've been looking forward to this, and it's nice to see people who I've known for years and years. I actually have some relatives on the call with us today, so it's very nice to be with you. As you've heard, the theme for today is It's a New Day. I want to try to tie that theme back to the scripture that we heard shared with us at the beginning of the service from Genesis, as well as with the fact that today is the day when the baptism of Jesus is generally celebrated, for lack of a better word. So it will be a little seemingly disjointed or disconnected for a while, but hopefully by the end, you'll see that we've been able to pull some things together with the theme of water, and it's a new day. So let's explore some things. First, we've already heard some of this, but let me share a few other thoughts about water itself. We know that it's very important. In the scripture that we heard, according to that creation story, the water was there at the very beginning, and the wind, the Spirit, was over that water. So even according to that story, even before God began to create, the water was there. The implication to me is that he needed the water to do the creation. That's how important water was in that creation story. God used the water to create. It suggests that water has not just importance, but great power as well. The power of water. Let's talk about that for just a few minutes. We can't survive more than about 3 days, the experts say, without water. Now, we can go for many days without food, some of us more than others probably, but without water, not so much. And so it's incredibly important to us. And again, it was so important that God used it to create. Water is very powerful. I think we all know that, but let me lift up a couple of things. Water is so powerful that it can do things like carve the Grand Canyon out of solid rock. Many other examples that we could share, but there's not time, that illustrate how powerful water can be. Another way that I became personally aware of this several years ago when I was traveling up in Iowa, shortly after a flood had hit that area. And as I was driving along the highway, I glanced out at my window into a cornfield. And off in the distance in the cornfield, I saw a railroad train car still filled with coal, sitting in the middle of a cornfield. And I thought, how odd is that? There's no track over there anywhere close. And then I realized that the water in that flood was powerful enough that it lifted that heavy, heavy coal car and floated it out into the middle of that cornfield. I will never forget that image that I saw that day that illustrated to me once again just how powerful water can be. Another way, at a much smaller scale, I love to scuba dive. When I was going through the certification process years and years ago, I was struck by one of the things that the dive master taught. He said, you have to keep breathing all the time. If you go down to some depth and fill your lungs and hold your breath, and then come up even just 3 feet, your lungs will not explode, but they will crack open, they will burst open, because the change in pressure of just 3 feet in the water is enough that it expands the air that you put in your lungs to the point where your lungs cannot hold that air any longer. Again, it suggested to me of how much power water can have because of the pressure in that case. Powerful water. We've already heard reference to water and baptism. What a tremendous example of the power of water we see in that. Again, as has already been suggested, everything is washed away. We lay down the old and we rise a new creation. That's powerful. That is powerful. By extension, of course, we have the opportunity to renew that commitment, that covenant, when we receive the Lord's Supper. That same kind of cleansing takes place there that we experience because of the power of the water of baptism. I've always found it very interesting that Jesus Christ wanted to be baptized. If ever there was a human being that did not need baptism for that cleansing, that remission of sin, it was Jesus. And yet he goes to John the Baptist and says, "I'd like to be baptized, please." And John says to him, direct quote, he says, "You got to be out of your ever-loving mind. I'm not even worthy to loosen your sandal. I should be asking you to baptize me." And Jesus says in response, "No, I need to be baptized to fulfill all righteousness." That's how important this water is. That's how powerful this water is, that Jesus even wanted that experience. And I really think he also wanted to use that as a way, a special way, a powerful way to connect with us in his humanness, that he would not be standing above us saying, "Oh, I didn't have any need for that." He said, "I want to be a part of that." In fact, one of the names given to Jesus talks about that, Emmanuel, God with us. And so he wanted to join with us in the power of that experience of baptism. And so it says that John indeed baptized him. I want to invite you to do something just for a very short period of time. Those of you who have experienced baptism, I want you to think back to that day you were baptized. Remember what it felt like to go into that water, that very powerful water, to be laid back into the water and immersed and brought up a new creation. Just reflect on that for a moment. I'll give you a few seconds just for silent reflection. I hope those were good memories for you. Sometimes as we get older, those memories from when we were children, in a lot of cases anyway, many people are baptized in their adulthood, but for many of us, it goes back a long time, and it's hard for us to keep bringing that up. I try to do that every now and then because that was a very powerful day for me, one that I hope I do remember all my life because of the power that was involved in that experience, in that sacred covenantal experience. And we're going to hear a little bit more about baptism later on in the service, so I won't go any further with that now. I'd like to move into a couple of things that have to do with symbolic meanings. Indeed, this is a new day. When we woke up this morning, it was a new day. We're celebrating a new year, but we are also in a new day. Every day is a new day when we follow the source of living water, Jesus Christ, the one who we saw a while ago. He offers us living water, and so every day can be a new day for us. I love that story that was depicted, the woman at the well. So many things. We need about 2 or 3 hours to really explore that. Well, I've got time. How about you all? Just kidding. Don't panic. There's so many things in that story that are just fabulous. Let me focus on one that has to do with the living water and how Jesus gave her a new day. This woman had been rejected by the village, by the people. She was there at the well, if you recall, in the middle of the day, in the heat of the day, the worst possible time to have to go and draw water from the well. Most of the time, people would go in the morning, the cool of the morning, or the cool of the evening. But she had to be there in the middle of the day because the people had rejected her. She was an outcast. And yet, in this moment, talking to Jesus Christ, the source of living water, she experienced something very powerful. Her life began a new day, to the point where the scriptures suggest, or they tell us outright, that she ran back into town and told the very people who had cast her out about this man Jesus. You have to come see him, she said to them. We have that same opportunity to share the way she did, so that other people who are bruised and brokenhearted in the world can experience a new day in their lives because of the power of the living water, even Jesus Christ. When we do, as Jesus said, we will never thirst. Oh, we'll have tough times. There will be hard times that we will face. But because of this man, Jesus, the source of living water, we can have a new day every single day. The 23rd Psalm suggests something to us also about how God provides us with a very special kind of water. We're told in that scripture that God leads us beside the still water, not just by water. The psalmist specified beside the still water. Why? I read an interesting book years ago by a shepherd who explained that. He said, sheep will not drink from moving water. They're afraid of it. And so it suggests that God gives us water that we don't have to be afraid of. We don't have to thirst because he leads us by the still waters. Powerful. We've been told in our time, through continuing revelation, that Jesus cares for us in that same way that he showed to the woman at the well, that God still cares for us in powerful ways that allow us to have a new day and hope for the future. One of my favorite scriptures is found in section 155 of the Doctrine and Covenants. The call is for workers in the cause of Zion. Therefore, neither tarry nor doubt that I am. I know your perplexities, and I am aware of your uncertainties. But if you will call upon my name, my spirit will go before you into whatsoever place you are sent, and I will continue to bless you as you have need. Wow. Offering us a new day every day. God is aware of the perplexities like COVID-19, like racial injustice and strife, like political problems. He's aware of those perplexities and our uncertainties, but he promises to be with us and to restore our souls every single day if we will let him. Jesus's living water power is available as we face these problems in our lives. But we can face them because of that with anticipation that new days are ahead. And we can face them with the joy, hope, love, and peace of Jesus Christ, the source of living water. What might we need or want to consider about this new day concept in our lives? Well, the first one I want to suggest is that the power of living water is available to us as individuals and as a community. Let me go back to the Doctrine and Covenants, to section 163 this time. Powerful words again, in my humble opinion. Collectively and individually, you are loved with an everlasting love that delights in each faithful step taken. God yearns to draw you close so that wounds may be healed, emptiness filled, and hope strengthened. God is not withholding it. We are told in continuing Revelation that God yearns to draw us to him so that our hope might be strengthened, so that we can have a new day every single day. Oh, how beautiful is that? The power of the living water is offered to us on an ongoing basis. And so let me suggest that in addition to the fact that we are told it's available at a community level and an individual level, let me suggest that today, right now, in the midst of the strife, the turmoil, the concerns that all of us have, that we can accept what God is wanting us to feel, that hope that God is wanting us to feel. And we, even in this moment, can have a new day because of Jesus Christ, because of the love of God which was shown to us through Jesus Christ. Feel it right now, please. I invite you to do that. Let me share something that Henry Nouwen wrote that I think is particularly appropriate in this particular moment of our lives. The truly good news is that God is not a distant God, a God to be feared and avoided, a God of revenge, but a God who is moved by our pains and participates in the fullness of the human struggle. God is a compassionate God. This means, first of all, that God is a God who has chosen to be God with us. As soon as we call God God with us, we enter into a new relationship of intimacy with him, a new day. By calling God Emmanuel, we recognize God's commitment to live in solidarity with us, to share our joys and pains, to defend and protect us, and to suffer all of life with us. The God with us is a close God, a God whom we call our refuge, our stronghold, our wisdom, and even more intimately, our helper, our shepherd, our love. We will never really know God as a compassionate God if we do not understand with our heart and our mind that the Word became flesh and lived among us. Wow. What fabulous news for us as we face turmoils and challenges in our daily lives. The promise of a new day every day. Let's consider some other possibilities at a community level. We were told in section 161 of the Doctrine and Covenants that we should lift up our eyes and look beyond the horizon to the places we must go. We've been called to not stay in one place, but to think about a new day, think about a new way that's beyond the horizon, something we can't even yet see, something we haven't even imagined. We've been told in section 165 that additional innovative approaches must be found to support groups of seekers and disciples. Boy, does that apply. That was several years ago, and yet it applies so much to us now as we deal with the ongoing pandemic, the problems that we face, new innovative approaches for taking the gospel, for taking the living water out into the world, that others might know the joy, hope, love, and peace that we have experienced in our lives. In section 165, we're told that opportunities abound in our daily lives to do that if we will choose to see them. Wow, what a great gift God has given us. Rather than to just sit and wring our hands and cry and moan, we have the opportunity to have a new day every single day as we turn to Jesus Christ, as we share the hope and the joy and the peace of Jesus Christ with those around us who are facing the same problems that we are facing. They need a new day, and we can help offer that to them. Indeed, this is a new day. We have the opportunity to experience a new day every day because of the living waters of Jesus Christ. We have the gift of this powerful living water to face the challenges, yes, personally and corporately, yes, but also to share them with others. There's a hymn that I want to close with. I'm not going to sing it, don't worry. But its words are just powerful for me. Let me close with this. I heard the voice of Jesus say, "Come unto me and rest. I bring good tidings of release to you who are oppressed." I came to Jesus as I was, weary and worn and sad. I found in him a resting place, and he has made me glad. I heard the voice of Jesus say, "Behold, I freely give the living water. Thirsty one, stoop down and drink and live." I came to Jesus and I drank of that life-giving stream. My thirst was quenched. My soul revived. And now I live in him. I heard the voice of Jesus say, "I am this dark world's light. Look unto me. Your morn shall rise, and all your day be bright." I looked to Jesus, and I found in him my star, my sun. And in that light of life, I'll walk till traveling days are done. May God bless you as you experience a new day.